Hi guys, it is beautiful outside. It is 60 degrees, sunny, not a cloud in the sky. I mean, look how blue the sky is. It's so pretty. So we're going to take advantage of this beautiful day and get as many of the garden beds cleaned out as we can. I checked the weather and we're supposed to have beautiful weather all week in the low 60s, and a couple nights midweek we're supposed to get down into the 30s. But the following week we're getting 5 to 7 days of just straight rain off and on and gray skies, no sun. So I want to get as much as I can get done today and the rest of the week before all of that moisture comes. And before we jump into all of the beds and all the cleanup, we're going to start with potatoes because I want to prep my potatoes today in order to get them in the ground in the next day or so. The prepping and planting of potatoes is a fairly easy process. The prepping part only takes a few minutes or more depending on how many potatoes you actually have to work with. I have grown potatoes in the ground before and in containers. I did not have very good success in the ground because the area that I had planted them in was heavy clay soil and it stayed fairly too wet, so they rotted out. In containers, they did pretty good, and this is my first time actually growing them in raised beds, so we're going to do that together. But let's start by prepping them. So here's the potatoes that we're going to be working with today. These are Yukon Golds. These are one of my favorite potatoes. They have a very light tan skin and a very yellow buttery flesh on the inside. They're super tasty and they're great for mashed potatoes. This is the type of potato I use when I make garlic roasted mashed potatoes, and they're just so good. So we've got our potato here, and all these little indents in here, these are called eyes, and these are growth points. And all of these little sprouts that you see coming up, these are called chits, and this is where the plant is going to grow from. So if you have a large potato like this, you can divide it or cut it, and just make sure that each cut or each portion has at least 1 to 2 eyes on it. So this one has an eye right here, an eye right here, and these are the chits again, and then a few more eyes here. So, oh, and one little one right there. So if I wanted to, I could actually cut this potato in half and plant it, and I would have 2 separate plants, which is what I'm going to do, and it's what I do for larger potatoes. Now for a potato this is the size of a golf ball, it only has 2 eyes on here, so this you can just plant directly into the ground whole. There's no need to divide it. Okay, so let's start with our largest potato first. So we've got a few eyes over here, a couple on the back side, but not so much anything right here. So really, if I wanted to, the easiest thing would just be to cut it right in half, because then I'd have like 3 or 4 eyes here and 2 to 3 eyes there, and I'm sure I'd get a plant out of each one. So I'm just going to take my knife and just make one quick cut right through. And there it is. Now I have 2 plants or 2 sets ready to go in. 4 eyes there, 3 eyes there. Same thing with this one. We've got 2 eyes here, actually a little third one there, 1 over here, 1 over here, 1 back there. So for this one, I could actually just kind of cut it right along there, and I could cut it right there. And I'd have 3 eyes here and 2 to 3 eyes there. And that's what we're going to do. Let's make a quick cut. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. And this one I have 1, 2, 3, 4 eyes, and they're all right here. I don't really have anything happening here. So this one I'll probably just leave. I'm going to leave this one alone. And same thing with this one. All of the eyes are on one side and there's nothing else here. So these 2 will go in whole, and then these will go in halves. And so from the 4 potatoes that we now have 6 plants, and we're going to get so many potatoes. And so now I'm just going to take them into the kitchen and let them sit on the counter for a day or so until the cut sides heal, and then we can go ahead and plant them. Because if we were to plant them right now without letting the cut sides kind of callus over, it just makes them a little more susceptible to rot. All right, so we are just going to put these on the counter. And here's where they'll stay for a day or so. The potatoes I picked up from Wood Prairie Family Farm in Maine. They're organic potato seeds. This is my first time ordering from them, but they looked really good, so I'm really excited to try these. Okay, we got one project done. Now we move on to garden bed cleanup. So this is one of the beds that we're going to be working in today. This is the bottom of the swale. There's the retaining wall for reference, and we just need to work from this point right here all the way to the back of the fence. Fairly simple. We just need to get in here and remove some of the grass that's trying to grow in through here, a few of the button weeds scattered throughout over there, and that's pretty much it. We don't need to re-edge or anything, or we're not putting any plastic liner down, because this is the area where the water flows into the swale, so I don't want anything restricting it. And this should be a fairly easy project. But it's always the projects that you think are the easiest that end up becoming the most tedious ones. All right, now we're in the front yard, and this is one of the 2 flower beds that we're going to be working in. And there's not too much to do in these beds. We have a few weeds that we definitely need to pull out. We have some perennial cutback, but the hydrangeas I'm going to do another day. The buddleias will come in here and just kind of remove some of the old spent blooms. But all in all, there's not too much. We are going to cut back the Kniphofia. And then this bed over here is pretty much the same thing. Just getting rid of a few spent blooms on the buddleias. We have one Kniphofia over here that we need to cut back, but we definitely have a lot more weed action over here. Look at that. Look at that little beast. We have our Agastache that we need to address. And over here we have a little lime hydrangea that's starting to bud out. The limelights, they're definitely starting to bud, so we're going to address these another day. And as far as the sky pencil holly hedge, we just need to come in here and just get rid of all of this grass that's kind of just made its way through. Don't really see too many weeds. It's more so just a lot of the grass seed that got pushed into the bed last season during all of that rain. But it comes out fairly easy. I'm going to start in the front yard and work on those beds first, because it's still early enough in the morning that the sun hasn't peeked over and started blasting those, because those are full sun beds. So I'm going to hit those up first, and then we'll come and finish up in the backyard. So without further ado, here we go. I want to show you guys real quick how I cut back the Kniphofia. So I pretty much just grab the entire plant, kind of like as if you were going to be holding a ponytail. And then you can see the new growth coming in here, all this little baby new growth. So I'm just going to cut it all right to just at the same level as the new growth. And then just remove any tattered and dead branches underneath, or dead stems underneath. And that's pretty much it. Now the entire plant can get air and some sunlight. roll, guys. One more bed to go. All right, guys, we are done. We got all of the beds cleaned out and weeded. Let me take you around real quick and just give you a quick little tour. So I thought we'd start in the back because, well, that's where we were. And this was probably the bed that required the least amount of work. I think it was just primarily focused on pulling a lot of the grass out of the rocks and some of the weeds from back behind the fence. And it just kind of meets up to the flower bed right along the retaining wall. And this little project over here, I think it took all of like 10 or 15 minutes. It was not very difficult at all, but it was satisfying. Okay, so now we are going to walk to the front yard and we're going to start over by the sky pencil holly hedge and work our way towards the front beds. Okay, so for this area, the primary focus was basically getting rid of all the grass that had gotten through the plastic edging all the way up to the white pillar by the fig tree over there, and then came in and removed just some random weeds throughout. And that's pretty much it on this bed. And this is actually ready for a little trimming and some fertilizer. Okay, so for this front flower bed, we came in, I cut back the Kniphofia and the Agastache. It's kind of hard to see because the plants are pretty bare right now and the mulch is just so discolored. Back in over here, we cleaned out a lot of the weeds along the foundation line. Cut back all of the spent blooms on the Buddleias. I did a major pruning on the lamb's ear because there was a lot of dead underneath it. Got rid of all that and just kind of cleaned up the edge line a little bit. I didn't do anything with the limelights or the little limes. I left them alone. We're going to come in later this week and I'll show you how I trim panicle hydrangeas and macrophyllus, and we'll come in and fertilize them all. And now we come over to the last bed, and it's basically kind of just a repeat of everything I did. Cut back some Kniphofia, got rid of the spent blooms on the Buddleias. There's more Kniphophias over here. Cut them all back and just kind of went in and got rid of a lot of the weeds along the sidewalk line and throughout the bed here. And it just looks a lot better. I didn't worry about mulching because we still need to come in here and fertilize all of the plants. And so once we fertilize everything, then we'll come in with a fresh layer of mulch. So all the beds have been cleaned out and the shrubs have been cut back with the exception of the Buddleias and the hydrangeas. We're going to do those in a few days. But now all we have to do is come in and fertilize and put a nice layer of mulch on top, and they'll all look just so nice and clean. I'm so excited that we were able to get this all done today. One big check off the checklist. Feels so good. I do want to show you one thing. So all of these weeds, this is that lesser celandine that I was telling you about, this noxious little bugger. I've been testing out a new weed removal tool, I guess you can say, and I think it's working pretty well. I'm gonna give it another little go and see how I like it, but so far, it's very promising. And we all know that any tool that can make weed removal easier is a must-have. So I'm looking forward to kind of putting this to the test. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.